Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Press Hour. We have 2 months ahead of us to reflect on, according to the manifestos and political programs of the contending candidates, choose a captain to steer the ship of state for the next 7 years mandate. The 12 candidates are known after the unappealable decision of the Constitutional Council on pre-electoral litigations. On Press Hour today, we shall attempt to examine the political landscape prior to the polling day. The dynamics are unprecedented. A good number of truly young candidates, those from the middle age, and a high representation of gerontocrats. When they will cross-pollinate their ideas and political programs, will the hybrid advance our democracy and propel development? We pray the reverse of this question should not be true. I am Killian Dandifon, and this is Press Hour. What is the political landscape after pre-electoral litigations as judgment passed, final judgment passed by the Constitutional Council, the highest organ dealing with such matters? It was this week that the Constitutional Council gave the final verdict, because the judgment of the Constitutional Council is final, cannot be appealed. Now we know 12 candidates to run for the October 12, 2025 presidential poll in Cameroon. And we are looking at the landscape ahead of the polling day on 12th of October. To talk about this, we have invited people who will make you leave what the political scene is or landscape is in Cameroon. Professor Elvis Ngole is of the CPDM Central Committee, and he lived the experience at the Constitutional Council from beginning to end. You're welcome to Press Hour, Prof.
Thank you, Killian, and it's a great pleasure to be back on Press Hour in the company of these very distinguished co-panelists. I'm sure that we will once again enrich our public, educate ourselves, and increase common understanding.
Thank you so much for coming, Prof. And next to you is Dr. Grimbald Nda, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the Social Democratic Front, the SDF. You're welcome to Press Hour, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nda Killian. It's always a pleasure to be here on Press Hour to enlighten Cameroonians on the current socio-political and cultural happenings in our country.
Mr. Cortem Princewill is the lead coordinator of MP3 Party. You're welcome to Press Hour.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Killian. Good day to all Cameroonians out there, and particularly to my fellow panelists here, distinguished people. Prof, I can see from Gole, good day, the senior journalist, and my brother, Dr. And once more, permit me to say good day to Samuel Yiram Iyudi, the former executive secretary of MP3, now the candidate for the FDC for the presidential elections 2025. As young people, we are prepared to go out there and to give Cameroonian, or to bring that change that we really want for our country. Thank you.
Mr. Yiram is the candidate for
the Front Democratic Front,
yes,
FDC,
Democratic Front.
Yeah.
But he was of the MP3. What is the MP3 party? Because we know about MP3 as a format of saving documents of music and the rest. Does your MP3 have anything to do with that?
No, not at all, Mr. Killian. The MP3 stands for the Movement for Patriotism and People's Prosperity. That's the M, and the P, the 3, stands for 3 Peace, Movement for Patriotism and People's Prosperity, where Hiram Iyodi, before being invested by the FDC, was the executive secretary. It's a political party that was created in 2018 and 2019, January 2019, and later on we were only legalized on the 9th of November 2023, alongside the other political parties that were legalized.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Matute Manyole, superscale journalist working for CRTV. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Killian. I'm always excited, always happy to be here.
Thank you so much for always coming. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Emmanuel Avenue, who read the newspapers for Press Hour.
Politics again dominated newspaper headlines in Cameroon the week ending. Pre-electoral litigations, Constitutional Council hearings open today. Headlines, Cameroon Insider. To the Post newspaper, Constitutional Council begins hearing dozens of appeals from rejected candidates today. And immediately the Voice questions Kamto's presidential candidacy litigation. Will Constitutional Council make history? The Horizon cues in petitions for reinstatement. Will Constitutional Council make or mar today? The Guardian Post sees fireworks at the Constitutional Council over Kamto's candidacy. A day of hearing, Cameroon Tribune describes as a day of truth. And then the Constitutional Council mars in the eyes of the Horizon by kicking out Kamto from the race in municipal updates. The Median explains that Maurice Kamto has been excluded definitively from the October 12 presidential poll. As Kamto is reported out of the race in the Guardian Post, it is no news to the Voice, especially as municipal update says Kamto reaping fruits of 2022 election boycott. News Herb reports that Manidem blames internal betrayal for this rejection and vows to continue the struggle. And by rejecting Kamto's petition and disqualifying Ile Zipang, the Constitutional Council ends suspense, endorses 12 candidates in Cameroon Insider. Cameroon Tribune is clear that only these 12 candidates will be competing in the October 12 presidential race, happening when opposition candidates root for a united front against Biya in Newswatch. Bello, Kamto and Chiroma alliance is then reported in gestation in the Guardian Post. Before the SDF Northwest rallies behind Joshua Osi and vows 100% support for the party in the Eden, especially as SDF wants relocation of polling stations from barracks and palaces to neutral grounds in the sun. The Herald Tribune says the SDF kicks against voting in barracks and palaces. At the time, the Bishop of Bafoussam cries foul in breaking news Bileng, stating that the people are murmuring and that the absence of change prepares the ground for future conflicts and not peace. To the Voice, Bafoussam Bishop slams toxic electoral climate and government tactics. Cameroon Tribune then presents media effervescence around the presidential election, stating that special slots have been allocated for news on the election by several media houses. But the interest of Cameroon Acres is on the YCPDM Dian 2 that pledges unflinching support to Paul Biya. Paul Efomingale then urges youth in the southwest to embrace peace and shun manipulation in the Eden during this electoral period, just when the Sun provides answers to why the MOU signing between Cameroon and the Turkish company for the construction of the Limbe Deep Sea Port was called off. CDC and Mvue village reported daggers drawn over 1.8 hectares of land in the Dawn newspaper. Chief Funderson of Mvue village then presents ownership documents of the land in question in the Guardian Post. Just when Sideno trains and distributes equipment and inputs to 600 farmers to stem food crisis in the northwest. In the Reporter, there is outrage in Bamenda as gunmen kill visiting US-based Cameroonian in the Guardian Post. Let's now end our press review with this story in the Voice newspaper, where 18-year-old student journalist Gabriel Suga Togo, on internship at the Post newspaper, was arrested on her way to cover hearings of pre-electoral litigations at the Constitutional Council. She has been released following widespread condemnation and media advocacy. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thank you so much, Emanuela, and we are 7 days away from having you again here. So you will come our way next Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Press Hour. Our focus today is to examine the landscape, the political landscape, as we move towards the 2025, October 12, 2025 election, presidential election in Cameroon. Let us get from the pressman first, Matute Menoli. What will you say the political landscape is in Cameroon after the pre-electoral litigations were handled and finalized by the Constitutional Council?
Well, thank you very much, Killian, for giving me the pride of place. For me, I think that much has not really changed, apart from the fact that we have a few big names that will not be part of the it will not be part of the game in October. We virtually have almost the same persons coming up, and when you look at it, you know, you still have the CPDM and UDP. The change is that they will be going solo. I mean, they are candidate. If at the end of the day they don't,
they are not going as an alliance.
Then you equally have the Mr. Chiruma's party that will want to stand on their own. They are no longer lying with the CPDM. So I think it's virtually the same thing. You have Cabral Libby, Joshua Usi representing the SDF, and a few other newcomers. But when you look at the big names, I have the impression that it is the same race. The significant, because when I look at the topic, you say the landscape, it changes the new landscape. I don't see very much of it, but Bello and Chiruma departing from the CPDM
is something different.
Something, because at least these are dominant forces in the northern part of the country.
We're going to come back to that in terms of the names, in terms of who is who. But when you say it's the same, and we have young candidates, I think this is the time we've had so many young candidates on the list. No, we'll come back to that. Okay. We will appreciate first the way the Constitutional Council handled the litigations. We're going to ask Professor Ervin Golingole, who is the CPDM, the Central Committee of the CPDM, was also there covering the litigations from beginning to end. I saw him sat through the debate from first to finish. I just want you to appreciate the situation of handling how the litigations were handled.
Well, as you know, we're in a democracy, and democracy is a political process. And as a political process, you know, politics, the process functions on the basis of laws and institutions. And democracy itself, for it to be meaningful, follows, apart from the freedoms that we exercise, democracy follows what the laws say, meaning the Constitution and other laws, and what the institutions say. And as the former American president, Mr. Barack Obama, once said, every society, for it to function well, needs very strong institutions. And this is one case where we had an institution of the state of Cameroon, or the Republic of Cameroon, in this case, the Constitutional Council, was at the center of the process according to the Constitution and according to the Electoral Code, and it did its job, again, as I say, according to the Constitution and the Electoral Code. And what I'd like to add...
Yes, you will add. Machute Milnyoli said one big name was dropped. And I think everybody thinks, and rightly too, that one big name was dropped. Were you of the CPDM happy? Did you clap when it dropped? Because it's a rival, very strong political rival.
Well, we clap for the process, we clap for the fact that the institution has done its job. But as an observer, and especially, I mean, I was there in a privileged position of representing the interests of the CPDM candidate, President Biya. But at the same time, I was there also as a Cameroonian citizen, observing like all other citizens. What I know is that in this process, we began with 83 candidates, and the first phase was the institution that is called ELECAM. ELECAM was able to reduce the 83 candidates to 13. And after that phase, the second phase now was the turn of the institution called the Constitutional Council, and the Constitutional Council was able to reduce the 13 to 12. Now,
yes, I would just to say that the candidate, Zipang Hilaire of MP, Mouvement Progressiste, a progressist, was dropped because
his comrade, which is Madame Molende, petitioned against his candidacy.
And proved right.
And proved right, because she made arguments and she was able to convince the judges, the 11-man panel of judges, that Mr. Zipang did not have the legal or legitimate right to be a candidate because, first of all, according to her, he was not heading the MP political party, that she was the general coordinator, and she didn't see how someone who was not a general coordinator could declare himself as the leader and at the same time a candidate. So she kicked against it, and I guess she got her day. But what I like to say there is that we tend to, in our freedom, reduce this whole process into personalizing it. Generally speaking, of the 70 out of the 83 candidates that expressed their interest originally, 71 were thrown out at the end of the day. We now have just 12.
Yes.
Now, and of these 71 that were thrown out, there are big names, there are small names, there are young people, there are older people. But what amazes me is that some persons want to reduce it to one or two persons, which makes the process that you will not get the meaning of the process if you reduce it to one or two persons, because you have to look at.
Let us see who are these persons we are talking about, so that we know exactly.
If you see lots of headlines, I see a lot of headlines. The name that I see in some headlines is "Kamto is out." I just saw in your press review, "Kamto is out." Kamto happened to have been not only my colleague at the International Relations Institute of Cameroon, but my colleague in government at one time. And he was one of the 71 that was thrown out for his party, which was Manidem. And it was thrown out because, as you are aware, because you were there was another candidate for the same party, Mr. Yebga, who claimed legitimacy and legality for the party. And so you had, before the Constitutional Council, on the ticket of Manidem, conflicting legitimacies and conflicting legalities. Now, the Constitutional Council is an institution which is the highest, is the Supreme Court of Elections in Cameroon.
Now, when you say we should not reduce it to names or to personalities, in Cameroon, for example, the national competition, when Coton Sport of Garoua is eliminated, it makes news.
It makes news.
Yes. So we cannot say that it is in the world stage of football. When Argentina, for example, as we know, if Cameroon wins Argentina, it makes news. Can we say that the newspapers are not wrong to say that it could have been reduced, that this was one big name? actually that is not reducing to
the
personality.
newspapers are doing their job, and I think they are supposed to inform, but we have to be careful that the information the newspapers give out or the media gives out should not leave the impression that an individual was targeted, or that the institution targeted an individual, or that the process was a process that had one individual versus another. It was a whole group of persons, 83 altogether.
Yes.
Maybe it's because the population, the people think that is come to who can really do the business of them.
Okay, now we're going to
the population thinks.
Dr. Grimbanda of the Social Democratic Front, appreciate from your perspective as an academic and also as an official of the Social Democratic Front that is running for the same October 12 presidential poll, the decisions that were arrived at the Constitutional Council.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ndakilian. As an academic, we are in a defining moment of Cameroon's political history. You know, the Constitutional Council is the most supreme court in the country, highest decision-making body when it comes to such matters. And we should be very careful. The Constitutional Council should be very careful because we are following them closely. Prof just made mention of conflicting candidates. Reason why some candidates were drawn out, were thrown out. You know, others could also argue that there were two candidates in the CPDM. I remember the last time the CPDM held a Congress was in 2011. That's many years ago. And the Constitutional Council should know by law who is the legitimate head of a political party, such that not any Tom and Dick can come out from nowhere and say, I am the head of the party, it is not this person. And we all saw what was happening, I think just the eve or 2 days to the deadline of submission of candidatures in the MINAT website, Ministry of Territorial Administration. I mean, how can the name of the head of a political party be swapped all of a sudden at a particular moment because of a particular political gain? It is not normal. And the Constitutional Council should have known in all its magnanimity that such actions are not allowed. That is my analysis as an academic, because this thing is going to have repercussions.
Now,
you know, Mr. Ndakilian, there cannot be peace without justice.
Yeah, before you develop that second part of your answer, what I lived through and following the electoral law, which is electoral code, it says that no one party should have two nomination letters. And that is what the Manidem party presented. It was on the score of that, two nomination papers from one party, according to the electoral code, is not allowed. And even for UPC. Just in passing, I will allow you to talk about social justice and the rest. For the CPDM you talked about, we also went and found out that the CPDM didn't have two nomination letters. Only one was given by the party head, and he validated the candidacy of Bia Paul.
That's okay. That's okay. But the problem is who has the power to nominate.
No. Let him tell you who has the power to nominate.
Because in the SDF party it is so clear. It is very clear, and that is why we will hardly have such problems in the SDF party.
For now, you can't say.
Yes.
When the time will come, you will know.
We will hardly have, because the SDF constitution is well structured and there is a procedure of endorsements, and we know who has the power to endorse candidates.
I mean, that is known. I mean, if it's known in the SDF, it's better known in the CPDM, because the CPDM is older than
the SDF.
The SDF. And secondly, In the present case, as you just stated, the law has been spoken because the law clearly states that you cannot have more than one investiture or nomination papers or attestations or letters from any party. In the case of the CPDM, there was only one because the CPDM has only one. Exactly.
Section 121 of the electoral.
In every party, the statutes are very clear. The statutes define the leadership architecture. That one is very clear. And in the CPDM constitution, or what we call the statute, that's what happens. And that is why I imagine that for the Constitutional Council, it was a non-issue for someone else to claim that they were a candidate on behalf of the CPDM because the CPDM has only one leadership, one statute, and one investiture. Any other person would be considered, well, I don't want to be in the place of the Constitutional Council.
Anyway, that's okay. I will not claim to know more than the Constitutional Council.
Exactly, we cannot.
They have taken their decision. They are legal experts.
And it has no appeal.
Yes, and have no appeal. And let me add this also. Those who disagree, it's very normal for them to disagree because in every society where there's democracy, there is no decision that any institution takes that doesn't have people who disagree. But this is the mistake we should not make, and I hope that the media will help us educate people. We have the right to disagree because we are free. But under the constitutional order and architecture that we have in this republic, the only institutions that are responsible for electoral matters are ELECAM and the Constitutional Council. We may agree, we may disagree with them. Political parties don't have the same power, no matter who their leaders are. We who are the citizens who don't have the same power, the Constitution and the laws give the powers to ELECAM and to the Constitutional Council to take the decision. And once they've taken, whether we agree or not, we are bound to respect it until that is changed.
Let us say the people, the citizens even have the highest level of the power because they are sovereign.
Yeah.
They are the ones to go to the poll after all what's happening and choose who should be the leader.
And until the day of the ballot,
you
will not know this.
I just wanted to say the second part of my answer. I was talking as an academic.
Yes.
Now, as the Deputy Secretary General of the SDF, I wish to say where the Constitutional Council has taken its decision, we've taken note of that, and on our part, we are working resolutely in order to see that we emerge winners of the elections. You know, like I mentioned earlier, it will be very difficult for such cases to happen in the SDF because the SDF Constitution states that the presidential candidate is nominated through a Congress, through an extraordinary convention, and that is what happened. That's what happened, and it was known to the public already ahead of time.
Even the CPDM says the same. That's what he's telling you, and I don't want us to deviate because in the CPDM, it is the Congress. In the failure of the Congress, the political bureau, and then they have those structures in place, and they actually followed it and nominated their candidate. I don't want us to derail from our focus. Now, we are going to go to the youngest person on the set, whose candidate I think also should be the youngest on the role of candidate. Prince Will, your appreciation, we are still on appreciation of the pre-electoral litigations.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kiliam. Like you said, Hiram Iyodi is the youngest candidate, but however, like he always likes to say.
How old is he?
He's 37, well, 38 now. So, like he usually say, it's not about the age, but it's about the political program that you have out there to put for the Cameroonian people. So, we are appreciating the aftermath of the electoral dispute or pre-electoral dispute, and like Hiram used to say, and like myself will put it, even at the level of the MP3, we think that a name like Professor Maurice Kamto to be absent for this presidential election is a call for concern. We think that for him not being in it will not make the political landscape to be like the way it would have been if he was there, because we understand the huge experience and the role he has played in this terrain for as long as he has been in it, we say 2011 or going further. However, like we say, It is, do we want change? Do Cameroonians want change or change on our individual? That is where the question comes. Because at this point, we believe at the level of the MP3, even Hiram, the candidate for the FDC, we think that what we want in Cameroon at this point in time is change, true change, systemic change, and not the change of an individual.
Okay, we will come to,
which therefore
we will
means
come to that level
yes.
where, at the level of appreciating how the pre-electoral litigations were handled. You will have time to talk about the plan of your party. We're going to give you that time. At this moment, we're going to start with you on moving to the next step of our discussion to say that the geopolitics in the country also has changed with what's happening. We have what people call the swing regions or the swing Grand North, which used to be a given for the CPDM. Now, the CPDM is going to fight to get votes from there alongside especially the FSNC of Issa Chiruma Bakari and the NUDP of Bello Boba Maigari, and all the other parties who will go to the same regions to canvass for vote. So CPDM, instead of just having what they used to have, call it on the platter of gold, now they're going to battle to have that. I'm beginning with you. Yeah. How do you appreciate this kind of mutation in the geopolitics of the country?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Killian. Actually, like you say, the geopolitics has drastically shifted, unlike it used to be before. And you see where the ruling party used to think that it's very easy to win. We've made mention of the FSNC, NUDP of Bello Buba and the like, who used to be a good ally of the ruling party, is no longer the same. And it doesn't only end at this level, but we also look at the geopolitical landscape shifting also with new candidates and young people who are coming to this scene. Look at somebody like Hiram Eyodi with his manifesto and his political program that he has, also has won a whole lot of Cameroonians who before today maybe used to have voter apathy, used to think that they did not find in somebody, maybe in the existing candidate, something that suits their own needs or something that answers to their problems as Cameroonians. Yeah, and with this time now we have young people like this.
Youngest, I know you have a right to use only your candidate, but since this is an intellectual debate, you have to take other young candidates.
Of course, you have Adeki, of course, Kaksin, which is somebody I know very well.
He should be 39 years old.
Good.
Yes, just 1 or 2 years older than your candidate. Yeah. So they are of the same young generation. Yeah. So Serge, Espoir, Matumba, you have Kabalibi. And so this is a group of young Cameroonians who are candidates. So that's what you are talking about. We have these young candidates.
Of course, that is what I'm talking about, that we have these young candidates. So we are not only looking at the geopolitical landscape shift from the alliance with the ruling party, but we're also looking at these young candidates who have a program to present to the Cameroonian people that it should not be minimized. It should be looked at with with seriousness, because these young people, they also represent majority of the Cameroonian population, which is the young people. And the young people have a need, which we think that some of these candidates you've been making mention of, the NUDP and the others, they also represent, but do their programs actually tie to the majority of the young Cameroon or the majority of the population with the elections?
When they present during campaign period, Cameroonians will assess. We are going to shift from you to Matute Mignole to look at these shifting geopolitics after the pre-electoral litigations and just ahead of the October 12 presidential election.
Yes, thank you, Killian. I think that there is a lot of work to be done. A lot of work, particularly for the opposition. Like he rightly said, when you look at what we had before, we know that the NUDP of Bello Buba dominated or dominates Adamawa, around the Adamawa region.
Part of the north.
Of course.
When you go to Mayoluti,
yes,
you have a heavy presence of NUDP.
Yes.
You have even at Pitwa near Garoua, used to be either NUDP, but this time you had the FSNC.
Yes.
So they have a good presence in the north. They also have influence in the far north. When you go to some of the areas there, some of the places in Mayokane were held by NUDP. They had a mayor in that place. So they also have an influence in the three regions, northern regions.
And so for the next 2 months, there are a lot of things that might happen. Equally talked about the young people, because the presentation that we have, the young candidates, Espoir Matumba, UD, Ateki, might attract the younger people who are going to vote.
Will it be their age? Are you talking about their age or their programs?
Of course.
No,
I think that it will be the two. It will be the two. Because when you look at what happens sometimes in other countries, you see that it is not only the program. It is not only the program. You find young people who just identify themselves. They identify themselves with a certain candidate because they think that the age group, he falls in the same age group. So I think that is going to play a very, very key role in changing
But in
things.
terms of age, you have the other side of the age group that says that you should not venture into areas where you don't know. You should count on the experience.
Experience.
Yes.
Well, that is how politics is. Politics is, I always quote Khrushchev, Nikita Khrushchev, who says politicians are the same the world over, where they promise to build bridges even when there are no rivers.
That's a good one.
So,
Mr. Kila, maybe I should add something. You know, it's not just like we said. It's not just only about the age, but you also look at these young candidates from the way they are coming from. They understand the need of the majority of the population, which is the young people. We cannot avoid saying talking about that. And then, okay, maybe you want to.
yes, no, I was just going to land. I know we still have time to come to that, but I was just going to say that if these candidates of the North, I'm talking of Bello and Chiruma, as well as maybe the young people, they come together.
Yes, we are going to move to the alliance.
Yes.
We will move to alliance, what the alliance can do. Because
what I wanted to say is that when you look at these young people of the others, these old people of the other side who are saying that young people need experience, when they took over power, they were very young. Very, very young. And if you look at those who have brought change in Cameroon,
27 years,
when you look at those who have brought change in Cameroon, from the Rudolph Dola Mangabe, they were very young at our age. From the Ruben Umnyobe, they were very young. Even the Ni John Fundi, when they were fighting for that, they were very young. So we think that there is no school where you train people to become president.
Fundi in 1990, 1980 was not young man.
No.
Was he young? How old was he?
I think Ni John Fundi was in his early 40s.
How old was the chairman?
Yes, in the 80s, he was in his early 40s. Because I think in 1990, when the chairman created the party, he was 47.
But before his demise, he had so much experience, more than he had when he was 40.
No.
And you believed in him.
We cannot only rely on that.
You see, Mr. Ndakilian, experience is a very dangerous thing. Experience is not good the way people think. Why? People don't see the disadvantages of experience. Experience restricts a lot of growth and potential. And because people focus a lot on experience, they don't see the potential that is emerging in the young, which makes it very dangerous.
Now, let someone who has experience on this set tell you the good side of experience.
We know the good side of experience.
No, you say student can be dangerous. Let him tell you how good.
What I know is that experience matters and counts. Wisdom matters and counts. And as far as the law does not prohibit when it comes to age, I think that age cannot be an argument in a campaign. The people will decide whether or not age will matter to them, whether or not experience will matter to them, whether or not wisdom will matter to them. But from what I know, it depends on every society. We just got an election that just took place in the U.S. At least I studied political science in the U.S., so I always can give the best example for me is the U.S., or the fastest example. There were two candidates, or main candidates. But the electorate preferred the older candidate. and not the younger candidate. And this is an old democracy, 250 years old. They were right. I'm not saying they were wrong. That's the decision they made. It's good it's good. It's a good decision, and they've taken it. So, if that can happen in a democracy as old as that, then I think that when we are looking for who to choose or to vote for, let us allow the electorate to decide. We have 8.2 million of them that are registered. Let us see how this 8.2 million will spread their votes. What we fear and what we hope and what we should, as we carry out the campaign, what we should focus on is that let there not be apathy or the kind of abstention that we saw in 2018, which was almost 50%. 2018 was, I think, 46 or so percent. 2011 was about 36 or 40% also. So we've seen these abstention rates grow. We don't want that to happen. Now that we have, for the first time in history, 8.2 million registered, let us hope that the abstention rate will be, or apathy rate will be low, and that the best candidate or the most preferred candidate will win. Of course, for our part, we believe that the CPDM candidate deserves to win, and we have the arguments and the campaign material to make. We'll do that. We're already preparing for that, to make sure that the population should know that among these 12 candidates, the one with the most experience, the one with the most wisdom, and the one with that you can count on, based on his political program, is the CPDM candidate in the person of President Biya.
Thank you. Now we are going to look at this. You are so confident that your candidate will win. We'll give you that credit. But let us look at Isa Cheruma Bakari of FSNC. We'll look at Akedemona of Univer. We'll look at Kwemo Pierre of UMS. Yes. We'll look at Tomainun Hermine Patricia Ndamjoya of CDU. We'll look at Matumba Sejespoa of PREESS. We'll look at Ateki Seta Karsten of PAL. Then we'll look at AOD Hiram Samuel of FDC. All these people, as we speak, are working to form an alliance and come up with one party, with one candidate, a single party. And I think tomorrow, Monday by evening, will be the last time, the deadline for them to agree. Yes. Provided they came up with one candidate. Yes. We do not know whether NUDP will join or some others will join. Will you still stand strong? That's just a question.
Yes, I mean, as you said...
I'm asking this question to the CPDM, to the SDF, to the other party, the Cabra PCRN, that is going on their own. They are not, for now, in any alliance. I'm asking this question to these other parties.
Yes, for the CPDM, as you know, the CPDM has been in an alliance mode for the last how many elections? The CPDM alliance of more than 20-something political parties is still on. We recently, two of the members of the alliance, the FSNC and the UNDP, decided to opt out, which is their freedom, and the CPDM respects that. But the alliance still holds. And
big boys in the alliance.
The big boys, I agree, but the other boys also, they are big, I agree, but the others, the alliance has not failed. The alliance is still on. But the big boys, as you say, the two left, but the alliance is still on. And the CPDM as such, while respecting the decision of these big boys to be out, the CPDM respects the fact that other contestants, other political parties should be able to exercise the same freedom and try to come up with alliances. So the landscape, as you see, since the decision, as you've just said, is that of the other 11 political parties that are in competition, all kinds of maneuvers are taking place in a view to form alliances. The CPDM is observing this, and the CPDM is putting in place the kinds of strategies that will enable it to stand up to these maneuvers or these alliances, because the CPDM itself is enjoying its alliance with the other political parties. It therefore cannot be against others in alliances.
Yes.
Those who opt not to be in an alliance, they are also free to go solo I mean, no one. I mean, the thing about democracy is that freedom prevails, and we respect the freedom of everyone. If you choose to be in an alliance, that's your freedom. If you choose to go solo, that's your freedom.
Yes,
and we have to respect it.
Yes, we actually have to respect it, Greenbelt.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. Now the CPDM has a strong alliance. It's also a well-planted, well-rooted political party. These other ones we cited are coming together to form a bloc. Don't you think that if the SDF did not join either the CPDM or this bloc, they may have so many difficulties on their way?
You see, the SDF is in a unique position here. I must say that. Why? The SDF has suffered a lot of betrayals in Cameroon ever since its creation. No other party, whether the CPDM or parties in the opposition, have suffered betrayals like the SDF. As far as alliances are concerned, I don't want to go into the history. You know them. The SDF is not against a coalition or a single candidate or an alliance, as many people think.
I opened the question.
Yes, and that is why I want to clear the air.
I opened that question. I did not close it. Now that the SDF has suffered so many betrayals from other opposition political parties, why not try the CPDM?
No. The CPDM is acting like an angry lion looking for someone to devour. We have no business with the CPDM, Mr. Ndaklia. And that is why I said we are in a particular position. The way our sister opposition political parties are going about their alliances is very disturbing, because the CPDM can easily jump in and scatter it. That is their job. They are experts in doing that. They are experts in scattering alliances.
And it is politically accepted. It is politically accepted.
It is, of course, it is a political game. But because the SDF has understood all of these things, the SDF is being very careful. Negotiations, especially in the Cameroon context and the African context in general, should be done strategically and in the background, and not in front of the cameras and trying to get the sympathy of the people. So that is a problem in Cameroon, and if we do not understand that, these alliances will easily be shattered by the CPDM, and the people in the end, and the political parties will only have their,
another person will argue that doing it on the table, not under the table, betrays you if you don't come up tomorrow and say that no such thing happened. So when you do it in public, you will not be able to come up another time and say you were not there. So
the probability in public is that it will not work, it will be destroyed. There's a very high probability. We know that we are talking about political landscape. That is the political landscape. That is how rough the political terrain is, which unfortunately, I must say, many of our sister political parties do not understand. I don't know why all this excitement. And just to end, my real concern are the voters, and not even the candidates. We were talking of young people. Do you know, my dear brother, that in the electoral register, only about 20% of youth are registered? Those who are 35 years of age and below represent less than 20% in the electoral register. They are the older people that are registered in the electoral register. Majority of the young people that form 60%. Those below 35 years form 60% of Cameroon's population, but less than 20% of them are registered in the electoral register.
Now, yes, we are on the alliances, and we know your party candidate, EOD, Hiram Samuel, is for the alliance. There are 7 of them declared already, whom we cited before. What about this alliance?
Thank you, Mr. Nda. Like Hiram always says, it's not just about alliances, but we should look at what we're going into alliances with. If you're doing a coalition, what are you doing a coalition with? Is it a coalition of programs, or is a coalition with people? Because how do you, if you are for federal system of governance, how do you do an alliance with somebody with decentralization?
That's another problem.
That is what we talk about.
Issue.
However, but we say what is primordial is not just about the coalition; it's about the people. Now, this demonstration, like Hiram always like to take, go back to 2018. We had about 6-point-something million registered, and just about 2-point-something to 3 million voters, and with the ruling party having a 1-point-something, which means the composition put together did not have up to 1 million voters with them. Now coming to 2025, we have 8.5 to 9 million registered. 8.2 rather registered voters. Now if you have, even if it's one candidate that Cameroonian people decide, and even 5 million or 3 million vote for him, they'll win. So at this point, like my brother said that way, it's not just about alliances. Alliances are good, yes, we should talk about it very well, but what we should be looking at is to encourage the Cameroonian people. That's why when you talk about the landscape after dispute, the electoral dispute, the pre-electoral dispute, I wanted to end at that level to say that we've seen some young people or Cameroonians saying that they are destroying their voters' cards because a particular candidate is not there. No, that is very wrong. That is very, very wrong. We are out for change of the system, and not change of people or a particular person. If you want true change, then you should keep your voters card, because there is it's true that we are not in accordance with what, not everybody is in accordance with what happened at the Constitutional Council, but let's learn from the 2020 elections. 2020 municipal legislative, there was a blunder that was made, and if that blunder was not made, I think that 2025 will not be having what we are having today with the Constitutional Council and others. And so if we have to move forward, let's learn from that example. Keep your voters card. You are the one who have the power. It is not the ruling party or the opposition coalition. You are, as people, as Cameroonians. So keep your voters card. When the time comes, we go give the vote. And to conclude from that angle, I'll say alliances can be done even 2 days before the election. At this point, what we should be concentrating on is to sell the political program. What do you have to offer to the Cameroon people? What do you want to do to bring the change that you want?
Thank you.
So alliance can be
Prince.
done at any time.
Thank you so much. We know that in 2018, Akeremona decided on the eve to join one party, and they said no, his ballot papers have to be on the table because they were already printed.
Yes.
Now let us move on. Those who want to go into alliances should not wait for last minute to cry. That is what we are saying.
We know. But
now let's move on with the alliances. You are the one, Matute, who brought in the idea that has been bought by most of the people. The description that there is one who has been dropped who is a big boy. Now, what if that big boy decided to join one of the camps? What change will that make?
What a question.
I think that's a very tricky one. But to be very honest, I think if the opposition is really serious and the candidate who has been dropped and wants things to move ahead, the best thing for him to do is to rally his people behind a particular candidate. And maybe it's the last time that you handing over the microphone to me. I just want to say that for the opposition to defeat the CPDM candidate, the party in power, they need a genuine coalition. Because I think everybody here was talking about the betrayal, we was talking about blacklegs and out, particularly in 1992. Yes. We will not go back to that, we know all of that. But this is the moment. It has happened in other countries. And I believe that the coalition that you're talking of, that is already coming up, and if the National Union of Bello Buba comes in, then the SGF, then Cabral Libi, Akeremuna, and I think that they will give the CPDM a good run.
Don't forget that the NUDP of Bello Buba has been with the CPDM. They could just decide that let's go back to the house.
Exactly. That is they are free to do so. And that is where I've been saying what I said here on the platform.
They are free to do
These
so.
Guys,
we are in a free society. The process is is running on the principle of free enterprise. The entrepreneurs are you and I, we the electorate. And so the actors are those who are candidates on behalf of their parties. And the Constitution and Electoral Code allow for these alliance maneuvers or coalitions, if you want to use that word, to take place as a way of ensuring yourself a better performance or better result. Not that it's guaranteed, but there's one thing I just want to point out that our FDC candidate representative just mentioned. A young man came to my office the other day and talking about wanting to take part in the elections. And I said, why? What makes you want to take part at your age? He said, because I want to make sure that I take part so that there's change. So I told him that, let us be very frank. There is no political science book or theory that tells you that you vote only because you want change. Mm-hmm. There's no correlation between, scientifically, voting and having change. You can vote because you want the status quo maintained. Okay. You can vote because you want to deprive a potential or a real competitor from getting to power.
You don't agree with.
Yeah, you don't agree with. Mm-hmm. So if I said you're a young person, you should ask yourself, why do I vote? If you vote because you really want something to change, you are free to do so. But you should also be free to say, I'm voting because I like this person, or because I don't like this person. I like this program, or because I don't like this program. You are free to do so. But to say that we are only voting, the 8.2 million electors will not go and vote simply because they want change. No. Okay. Because there is no election where people go and vote only because they want change. Okay. If that were the case, the CPM would not be the one in power. Because we have been voting since 1992, right?
Yes.
So it is good for us, because we're in a pedagogy, to know that people go to vote, not necessarily because they want to change from something to something, from a regime to regime, a situation, or person to another person. You may go and vote. You have a reason for going to vote. And the reasons differ or vary from one voter to the other.
Thank you.
And we should make sure that we scientifically making that correlation is wrong.
Thank you so much. Our time is up. If Greenberg accepts that he can speak in 30 seconds, and I will guide you, I will give you the microphone. Okay. In the 1990s, the SDF used this slogan, coined it from the name, SDF, suffer, don't finish. Some people said at that time, suffer there for front.
No, suffer not there for fun, Mr. Ndakilian. Suffer they can't finish small time. Look, unfortunately, I don't have enough time. I will have continued in the same scientific analogy Prof views. But what I want to say is that, dear opposition members, we have to use strategy in order to unseat a regime that has been in power for more than 40 years. It is not easy. I left church to this place, and the gospel of today says that if somebody knew when a thief was coming to break into his house, he would take appropriate measures to ensure that the thief does not come. It is the same thing happening in the opposition ranks.
Okay.
When you open the way, CPDM will come and steal everything.
Okay.
So we have to prevent CPDM from coming to steal.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Unfortunately for you, politics is not the gospel, and what you learn today in churches. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's on. Our time is up. We'll look for another moment. We'll look for another period to bring you on board. You can count on us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Press Art today, and we promise that next week, if something that displeases you today, we're going to make it better when we come 7 days away from now.